You'll see here two crews going head-to-head, Poland and Germany in this PR1 women's single sculls, and we'll get into in just a few moments' time exactly what that PR1 category entails. But Manuela Diening has had a fantastic run into this competition, but she'll go in lane number 2. But first and foremost, up here on the start, and tons of support behind her, Sofia Serewin of Poland. She made her debut on Friday in senior competition, and a good start to competition for her. She made it down the course, but she's up against some pretty mighty competition from the German. Big smile on her face, Serewin, and yeah, tons of Polish support here in Poznan for her. But here is the lady of the moment, Manuela Diening of Germany. She had a stunning victory in Lucerne, probably the only person who can get in the way of the warpath of Birgit Skarstein, the Norwegian. She took home a gold at World Cup 2 in Lucerne, the first time that we'd seen para-rowing on the Rotsee in competition. So a history maker, Manuela Diening.
History maker, and this competition is going to be really about these athletes racing against themselves. I know we say it a lot in terms of competition, but this is going to be two separate races. Manuela will go out and she will be a long way ahead of Sofia, who we're looking at there, and it's an interesting one. I think it's you can see here the starter there, so we'll talk about this as we go down the race.
So we're off under starters orders, and it looked like potentially there not a false start, but Manuela Diening straight off out the block, so you can really see the difference there, that a well-practiced, you know, Paralympic athlete who's going to Paris this summer has got on a debutant, somebody who's not faced international competition before.
Yeah, and you can see Sofia there, and what I was going to say was that the para-rowing is great because it's 3 categories, PR1, and we'll talk you through that. It's for rowers who have no or minimal trunk function. They obviously can't use the sliding seat. There's Manuela Diening there trucking away. And PR2, which is where athletes have got more trunk function, and then PR3, where athletes have got some impediment, but they can use a sliding seat and row normally. Great, you can have those 3 categories, and it's very clear, but within those categories, there's quite a lot of wiggle room. And what we're seeing with Manuela here, you can see her body. She's got quite a lot of trunk function, and she's really sort of swinging out to the front and the back. And when we get a look at Sofia, you'll see she's got a different problem, which doesn't enable her to use that body function. So she's going to be slower anyway. You can see with the speeds there, Camilla, 11.8 for Manuela and 7.8 for Sofia. That just within that PR1 class, there's a lot of variation. There's a great shot of it.
Yeah, and you can see there her body movement for Sofia Serewin is much more in the shoulders, right, in the upper body. And again, within PR1, we talk about that limitation of application of power to the rowing stroke. That's what the PR1, PR2, PR3 classifications are all about, is your movement in relation to rowing, and that's really important, right? And you can see even within that category, there is a really broad spectrum of that movement in relation to rowing. And Diening here, the amount of efficiency that she's getting on the run on that boat is pretty dramatic. And one thing I did find out, actually, Diening on Friday, despite being into that headwind, set one of the highest percentage gold medal times of the day out of any category.
Yeah.
And you know, she will be racing against the clock here to try and do that again, because that's comparable to all boat classifications, you know, para-rowing or not.
Yeah, I reckon she's going to be around about 235, 236 through the 500 metres, and she's going to look to repeat that on subsequent 500 metres. There we see she is through in pretty much, well, 233. That's quite a decent time. Now, if she can maintain that split, I'll tell you why that's important. And we're looking at Sofia Serewin there, the Polish athlete who's yet to come up to 500 metres. But for Diening, she has got that competition with Birgit Skarstein, who was entered here, the Olympic or the Paralympic champion, and she beat Birgit in Lucerne 3 weeks ago, but she did it by sculling through Birgit in the last 500 metres. She threw down a 2:28 in the last 500. So she really wants to get consistent. Birgit Skarstein can row like 234, 234, 234, and then throw in a quicker last 500. So this is her last opportunity to train in a competitive situation for Manuela, and those times are going to be really important. So what's the split going to be at 1,000? Let's wait and see. I was talking to her this morning, actually, before she went on the water. I said, you know, what's your best part of your stroke, Manuela? And she thought a bit, and she said, oh, the finish, you know, like, I'm very sorry. You can see with that sort of lean back that she's able to bring into use, that she really does send that boat off at the finish. And the contrast with Serafina there, who's just going through the 500-metre mark, and it's very stark.
Yeah, and look, I think everyone's got to start somewhere, right? It's great that we've got athletes that are stepping into competition that could lead them to a Paralympic Games, and great for a home athlete, right? So Serafin from the Tarnów club in the south of Poland, just east of Krakow she's from, so quite a way away from here, but she's travelled to Poznan. She's going up against one of the top talent in this PR1 category, so it must be pretty daunting for her to be taking on this challenge, but she'll be rowing her own race. She'll get tons of support, I'm sure, when she comes into crowds. But look at this from Diening. German para rowing is on such a surge at the moment, Martin. 4 out of 5 boats qualified for Paris 2024 out of all the para categories available, 5 of them, and Diening's just, I think, been the sort of real crescendo to that. You know, she's come through this last Paralympiad, and look at this, she's coming into 1,000, and let's see if she's managed to chalk that time that you.
So 5:06 would be equal split, so it's really not far off there. So she's hardly dropped, you know, more than what, 3/4 of a second between the first quarter and the second quarter. You can see the effort that's in her face there. She's going for those even splits, and she's going to try and throw a sprint in at the end, Manuela. She came into the sport, she played tennis for, I think, 20 years. And then in her hometown of Munster, she was watching the river one day and she thought, rowing, oh, that looks like fun. And then she kind of met up with her coach, Seb Fuchs, and he said, yeah, I'll take you on. And so she rows for the club. She's going back there to train at Ruderbay in Munster. And, well, she is one of the favourites for Paralympic gold, and you can see why.
Just look how level her drive is through the stroke with that sort of body movement. She's really kind of keeping locked on, but that drive is so flat through the water, which I think is really challenging when you're in a different boat type, right? And the stability is perhaps not there as much as it is with athletes in different classifications. Because we talk about that lack of core stability and lack of core strength being one of the key characteristics that you find in this PR1 category. But just look how level she keeps the boat as she goes through that drive, through the, you know, the bit where the blades are in the water and she's taking a stroke. That's the drive element of the rowing stroke.
Yeah, I mean, she wants to work on her front end. You can see there the catch. She could be a little closer to the front end when the blades kind of reverse direction. There's just that gap of about 10 centimetres at the front. And I guess she would want to be really close and just be really efficient around the front end. Just a little bit of travel of the blades before they go into the water. You can see at the front end, the blades come backwards towards the stern. And what you really want is for the blades to lock right out there at the front end without any of that travel towards the stern. So I can see what she meant when she said, you know, the finish is the best part of my stroke.
And the finish, not only the best part of her stroke, but as we've said, the best part of her overall race, that final 500 metres, which is coming into view. We're about 1,700 metres. My apologies, no, we're about 1,500 metres. There you can see the timing marker coming into view now. We'll watch for the time once again. She's racing the clock, Diening, because whatever time she produces here, 7:42.58, she's going to be comparing this to what Skarstein can produce. And Skarstein was due to be here. We've not talked about that. Skarstein, the Norwegian, the Paralympic and world champion, was due to be here in Poznan, but withdrew. Yeah,
and if you're watching this, Birgit, we hope you're doing well, and looking forward to seeing you race in Paris, of course. World's best time set by Sculls in Varese in 7:23. She came through the 1500 in 7:21. So it's kind of 20 seconds outside of that, which I reckon is pretty decent in this light head breeze.
And the flags are picking up here. We can see them from our view, that those sort of drop flags that we had first thing this morning starting to pick up speed. The headwind is certainly sort of building through the day, and we are expecting that. You know, the reason the racing program's changed is that high winds expected this afternoon, so they'll be enjoying these calmer conditions out there on the water for now.
Yeah, we've got a great view of the course down here, and I'm looking at Manuela to my left. She has got about 300 meters to go. We'll be seeing the red boys soon. There's the sign on the Poznan course, and the question for me is what's she going to do in the last 250 meters? Is she going to increase the cadence of her stroke? If you look at that blue line, 11.7, 11.5, she has kept so consistent through this race, Camilla. She's been absolutely killing it down the course. And what we're going to see is if she's got anything left in the tank to get that speed up to around about 12 or something like that. I don't tend to think she's going to do it with rate. What power has she got left just to push those finishes off even more strongly and produce that sort of sprint that we saw her do in Lucerne 3 weeks ago, where she threw in that 2:28 last 500 meters to get through Sculls.
It's going to be challenging with no one up alongside her like we saw her against the Norwegian in Lucerne, but she's still going to give it a go here on Lake Malta. It was a win yesterday for the PR2 women's single sculler from Germany, Jasmina Beer, who won the first gold medal of the competition here at World Cup 2 in the non-Paralympic categories, and it looks like Germany are going to get the first gold medal of the finals day here at World Cup 3 in the final World Cup. So doing and continuing on the good work that Jasmina Beer did yesterday in the PR2 women's single scull, it's going to be Manuela Diening of Germany that puts in that final performance ahead of the Paralympic Games, puts that marker down to Sculls and goes, look, this is what you've got to come up against. What an amazing performance from her, dominant the whole way down this course. And yeah, she looks pretty content with that, Martin.
Yeah, she'll be pretty content with that, and that time that she produced, we're getting on our system 10:16, is really, really consistent. If you think of those 2:30 splits, you know, that's going to give you a time of 10 minutes. 2:34s, you know, 10:16. That's how consistent that Manuela was down the track. Now, I have to say, you know, I'm looking to my left, and I can see the Polish sculler Zofia Seruin, and she is yet to pass the 500 meters to go mark, and what that shows you is the different spinal functions that these athletes have. It's no there's no implied criticism of Zofia. She is just a very, very different, she's an athlete of different abilities to Manuela. There is Zofia, and you can see that she's really got the ability to use just her upper arms and body. I just wonder what they'll do with Zofia. I guess she'll finish, but I don't know. The men's PR1 is due to come down quite shortly. There is Zofia. So I don't know if we'll go to the start of that, and they'll race while she's still got, I guess she's got about 550 meters to go. The thing that interests me is because Birgit Sculls withdrew late, normally there would only be one medal for the person who won this race. So you give the medal to Manuela Diening, just sort of saw her crossing the line there. God, look at the effort on her face. She's going to be delighted with that performance.